As we continue with the expo, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, actress Jennifer Aspen. Jennifer has starred in 7 television series, including her roles as Daphne Jablonski in the Fox hit show Party of Five and Trina in ABC's comedy Rodney. She won a Screen Actors Guild honor as a recurring guest star on the first season of the hit show Glee, where she played Kendra Giardi. And as an actress, Jennifer has close to 100 credits to her name. In addition to acting, she creates, directs, and produces her own projects, like her critically acclaimed web series, Los Angeles Right Now. She has been the executive producer for 6 movies for the Hallmark Channel, 3 of which she created and sold, 2 of which she co-starred in, and one of them, titled A Christmas Love Story, received the honor of being the Hallmark Hall of Fame in 2019. She currently has projects in development with Hallmark, Netflix, and Disney Plus. Now, without further ado, please welcome Jennifer Aspen.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for that introduction. That was really nice. And honestly, thank you to all of the people that are here that want to actually hear me say something. That's really nice that you're here too. So I want to thank you for that. And it's so strange to be in this vacuum because I've done so much live performing and people laugh back at the things I say. There's going to be no laughter here. So if there's an awkward pause, I'm breaking for imagined laughter. So I'm going to be talking about my family and my personal history because when I was asked to write this speech to really find the keys to my success, that is where my mind goes, my family, and all those seminal moments and lessons that made me who I am today, I can trace to my family. And I can trace all these lessons that pushed me through my career on humor and perseverance to them. So I wanted to talk about that today. I was born in Richmond, Virginia in the 1970s to 2 scientists. My father was a botanist and my mother was a herpetologist. And that is reptiles and amphibians, not the other thing you were thinking when I said that. They were both educators throughout their lives. They had met at UCLA and gotten married at a church in the Westwood area of Los Angeles, right next to the 405, for those of you that know that. And the cross of that church still stands there next to that freeway, I believe. And weirdly, it was a cross that I ended up driving by like a million times later in life. And at the time that they were at UCLA, my mother was pretty much the only woman in her science classes. And she told me it was pretty isolating, but she persevered with the thing that she loved, which was, looking at lizards and snakes and stuff. And tortoises, desert tortoises, that's a big passion for us. And I don't think she'd mind me saying that she felt some pressure to get married at that time, as did my father for other reasons. And both of their East Coast families were afraid they were getting hippified out West, of course. So soon after UCLA, my parents got jobs at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. So there they moved, and there I was born. And they thought that Richmond was progressive enough at that time that I wouldn't be exposed to much racism there. And my mother, especially, all my young life would have none of it. She wanted none of that to be taught to me. And so actually, the only time I ever saw her raise her voice and talk back to her own mother was when the 3 of us were having dinner and my grandmother suggested to me that maybe I shouldn't, be playing so often with Katie because she was Black. And my mother was like, and she stopped everything. She told me to go to my room right now. And I went to my room and I closed the door, and my mother just went off on her mom. I never heard her do that before or since. And that conversation my grandmother had to me was never repeated again. And so this was just something important to my mom. And one day we were in Virginia, and I was about 2 years old and playing on the front porch with some white kids, and a black boy walked by, and a couple of the white kids on the porch, they pulled me back and they warned me, oh, don't play with black children. You have to be careful. And my mom heard that. And she told them, go home. Sorry. I'm just grateful that she did that for me. And then we moved. We moved out west. And that was an important lesson that she taught me. She was a quiet woman, but is a quiet woman. But when something was important to her, she stood up. I didn't think I was going to cry so much. When something was important to her, she stood up and she used her voice. And even if it wasn't the most popular opinion, this lesson made me brave. The things that were important to me, the performances that I created, I stood up and I performed them. I had something to say, and I didn't care if people hated them. I had something to say. And I'm also, I'm a movie producer now, and I stand up and I say what I have to say, and I express what I have to say, and I don't care if people don't like my ideas. I do. So she gave me that, my mother. And my father was very frustrated and lost man, really. He was a closeted gay man pretending to be a family man. And he did that with us, and even tried again and failed with another wife and kids. And he wasn't fulfilled, it was a hard time to be gay. And he was never really even happy. However, he could make a joke about anything. He could laugh at himself, at situations, at others. He was the embodiment of, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And he believed in magic, and he believed something wonderful could be just around the corner, especially when things were tough. And as an actor, laughing at myself is essential, and making others laugh is how most of my career as an actor has gone. And that sort of non-serious about self attitude that makes a set at ease when I run a movie is that humor. And in my business, you definitely have to believe that some magic is right around the corner. And he gave me that, my father. So we were poor, and my father was gay. And apparently that was obvious to everyone on the block but me. I had no idea what was going on. So I was discriminated against. People didn't want their kids to play with me. And I had no idea what was going on. I just thought they were too busy, or they were just not very nice. And that just meant I spent a lot of time climbing my favorite tree and by myself and imagining by myself. So I'm actually glad that they were jerks. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about barriers for women at this conference and how we overcame them, or how I overcame them. And but I really thought about this, and I have to let you in on a little secret of mine that might possibly be the key to my success. I didn't know there were any barriers. And this is something my parents did very right. I wasn't enlightened on the glass ceiling. It wasn't there. I wasn't sat down and talked to about the lack of gender equality. I had no idea it was a problem. They didn't make a point of telling me that it was bigotry that had me playing alone a lot of the time. Like I said, I just thought they were busy or had messy homes they didn't want me to see the inside of, or something. My parents just, they let me alone. They let me alone with my own thoughts, my own observations, my own conclusions, and they let me do what I wanted to do. And my mom didn't tell me it was hard out there for women, even though it had been so hard out there for her as a woman. And I think this was a stroke of genius on their part. And if I did hit a barrier, I thought nothing of it. I mean, I still feel this way, okay? I just found a way around it. The barrier has no power. It had no power over me. I just kept going. I just persevered. I found another way. And then I just kept laughing, mostly at myself. I laugh at myself a lot. But that was really, I'm so glad that wasn't warned that there were problems. I just feel that there were less problems and less barriers because I wasn't warned to look out for them. I just played it like a game. So I found musical theater in high school, and I've told this story so many times, but I mean, if you haven't gleaned this already about me, I'm kind of a bit of a rebel. And so I'm in high school, in detention and for cutting classes. And the detention was me sitting in an administrative room answering phones that never rang. And I heard this song going over and over, and I just thought it was a stupid cheerleaders. So I went to the bathroom to check on them, and it was actually kids learning a dance routine to audition for the spring musical. And Elizabeth Barron, the biggest angel of my acting life, was like, you should audition. There's a really good part for you. And she helped me, and I got the part. And that was Hetty LaRue and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which, as you guys may or may not know, that was like a Marilyn Monroe type part. And I had a horrible sunburn on the first weekend of the performance. I had braces. I mean, I was all kinds of imperfection, which I didn't even notice because there were no barriers. And I found my dream. I found my dream performing. And that's when that happened. And then when I realized you could actually go to school for acting, okay, I applied to all the UCs. I was accepted to all of them except Berkeley, whatever Berkeley. Okay. So I ended up going to UCLA, where my parents had first met, second generation Bruin. And I drove by that cross almost every day. I received a degree from UCLA in theater, film, and television. I was on the dean's list. And I started auditioning, started waitressing, and then auditioning. And then I got my first paying job where I could quit my waitressing job, which is basically the most common story in Los Angeles. And it went really well. I managed to star so far in 7 television series, from Party of Five to Rodney to GCB, and countless guest spots. And I've worked with Tom Cruise and Jennifer Aniston and Amy Adams. And by the way, they're all really nice. I don't have a lot of their nightmare stories. I have 2, which I won't repeat today. Okay, so anyway, these lessons from my family that I've brought up so far, they were such a huge part of all that, because since I didn't know there were any barriers really, I just kept going forward. And as an actor auditioning, as I'm sure you probably know, people turn you down all the time. And well, I was used to that, because remember the kids who weren't allowed to play with me? So I figured there's just must be something wrong with them. On to the next. And then you get a series, and then you have all the success, and then your show gets canceled. And then I'm just like, must be something wrong with them, on to the next. So I guess what I'm saying is that bigotry made me better. No, I'm saying that it was the idea that bigotry that's someone else's problem, doesn't reflect on me and what I'm doing at all. And that idea made me better. That really helped me. So I'm really grateful for those lessons. And anyway, after many years in a successful acting career, I was ready for more. And I made my own family now. And that taught me new lessons. And my husband, everybody loves my husband. And it's not just because he's totally hot, but he's totally hot, but he's the brightest light, and he's so full of energy. And it was him that brought me to my first pitch as a producer and content creator. And he supported me and has executive produced by my side for my first couple of movies. He makes me know how wonderful and important it is to have a man by my side as a partner. And we've been together for almost 25 years. And he's my gateway drug to happiness. And when he goes off to work, I hold down the fort. And when I go off to work, he does the same for me. And he taught me to lean on someone, to count on them. My husband taught me that. And then it was time for us to start a family, and infertility issues. Oh my gosh, that could be its own conference, right? So we just weren't going to do this the old fashioned way. It wasn't as simple as, let's stop using birth control and we're going to have a baby. Like, that didn't happen at all. So it's totally fine, because we adopted a daughter, Charlotte Sophia, and she is the most perfect child for us and came to us exactly as the universe intended. And I would not change a thing. And for those women who may be struggling with this, and there are a lot of us, the right child finds you. And when you hold them in your arms for the first time, boop, gonna cry again. Okay, well, you don't care how they got there. You don't care how many tears you cried. It will happen. It will happen. Anyway, back to Charlotte. She opened up everything for me as an artist and a person. She made me a storyteller. And when I say made me, I mean, she made me make up stories for her every single night, which made me make up stories of my own to make into movies. And she made me know what's truly important to me to say, because she showed me what's truly important is love. My daughter taught me that. I returned to my birthplace of Richmond, Virginia, to act in a movie. Down the street from my hotel room was the place where Lincoln announced the Emancipation Proclamation. And also from my hotel room, I could see a large sign painted across several silos, huge silos, that said Southern States. And in that moment, my life, my history, my family, it all kind of came to this distinct, peaceful, embracive focus. And right then is when I got the first idea for my first movie, and it became the first movie I ever made as a creator and storyteller. And I just found a freedom in coming home, I guess, and embracing all that that is, all that it has been, and feeling no barriers left upon me, regardless of anything that I've been through. And when I come home to my family now, I embrace all that we are. And they give me the feeling of peace and freedom for what I need to do out there in the world as a creator and an artist. And I'm passing on these same lessons to my daughter. I'm not teaching her about barriers. I'm teaching her about freedom and how to go forward and how to make a plan, and sometimes make an alternative plan when needed, and to laugh the whole way as much as possible. And those are really the keys to what's important to me and to my success. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you're smiling on the other side of this camera and that you enjoyed my story. And I really thank you for listening so much.
Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing with us. I definitely enjoyed hearing you speak about how impactful your family was in your journey and the experiences that you've had that shaped you to who you are today. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
So now my time as your hostess has come to an end. I will have a breakout session at 4:45 to discuss professional and career development and to answer any questions about what I spoke about earlier this afternoon.